Some days pass, other days summon, and today is not an ordinary day. Tomorrow, the new moon in Libra opens a spiritual portal that doesn't appear every month. It is the night when the sky observes, weighs, and decides who is ready to receive the new destiny. This is not a prediction, it is a call. Before the divine scales descend, the universe wants to know, will you enter the new cycle, awake or distracted, present or just passing through? And that is why this video exists. To spiritually prepare you for something too big to be ignored. And I want to feel who is truly here right now. If you feel this call is for you, if something inside you knows that tomorrow matters, write in the comments now, I am ready. Because that sentence is not just a comment. It is a vow, a response to the heavens, a spiritual act. Today is not about understanding, it is about preparing. The new moon arrives tomorrow, and the sacred does not wait. Most people only pay attention on the day of the new moon. They perform rituals, write intentions, light candles, but almost no one understands the most important spiritual mystery. The night before the new moon is more sacred than the new moon itself, because every seed is born in the dark, not in the light, and every divine contract is prepared before it is signed. Today is not the event. Today is the pre-sacred, the spiritual vigil, the moment when the sky observes who is awake enough to be included in the next cycle. The new moon is the visible beginning, but destiny begins before, in the invisible, in the heart of the one who is already preparing. And today, if you are here, it is not by chance. There is a summons happening, and few people on the entire planet will feel this subtle pressure from the spirit. Many will think tomorrow is just another new moon, but they are not seeing the board. They do not realize that something much larger is being moved. Libra is not a sign of romance. It is a sign of the divine scales, of spiritual adjustment, of cosmic justice. And this new moon is not sweet. It is precise. It weighs. It chooses. It defines who is ready to sustain a new level of life, and who is still too distracted to receive. And here is the part that almost no one knows. Before the scales weigh, the spirit is called to present itself. Today is that day. It's not about astrology. It's about spiritual posture. Today, the universe observes, what is your real intention? What are you carrying unnecessarily? What do you know you need to change, but keep pushing away? Are you living as someone prepared, or waiting for everything to change without your participation? Because the heavens do not grant power to those who live distracted. They do not grant destiny to those who live on autopilot. They do not grant revelation to those who do not make inner space. Today, the invitation is not to understand. It is to take a position. And that is the difference between who receives and who watches, between who manifests and who envies, between who leads and who waits. Tomorrow, the new moon in Libra resets the board, but not for everyone. Only for those who stand before the altar of the heavens with integrity, presence, and a willingness to evolve. And an altar is not a place of comfort. It is a place of surrender, of reverence, of acknowledgement. I know something bigger is happening, and I choose to be available. Today, before the portal opens, the universe calls us to a serious question. Do you really want a new cycle, or do you want a comfortable version of the old one? Because most people say they want change, but they don't want anything that causes discomfort. They want novelty, as long as they don't have to let go of anything. They want spiritual advancement, without being confronted by their own ego. But Libra is the sign of the scales. And on the scales, every choice has weight. Nothing comes for free. This new moon is asking, what are you bringing into the new cycle that is already dead? What do you continue to tolerate, even though you know it's too costly for your energy? What do you still accept, even while feeling that it pushes you away from who you truly are? Libra is divine justice, and justice is not punishment, justice is correction. Today, the spirit prepares. Tomorrow, the heavens sign. That is why this video is not to fill time, it is to position your soul. It is not about waiting for tomorrow to arrive, it is about deciding how you will arrive before tomorrow. And here is the deepest truth of this day. Tomorrow, the new moon plants destiny. But today, the heavens are observing the soil. And your true yes, mature, conscious, spiritual, is perhaps the only key that was missing. Today is not a day to be distracted. Today is a day to present yourself. Tomorrow, when the new moon in Libra occurs, it will not look at what you show, it will look at what you carry. Libra doesn't work with appearance, it works with essence. Therefore, before the new cycle begins, the universe weighs what is inside you, your internal agreements, your silent concessions, your hidden energetic pacts. What you live on the inside is worth more than any image you project. This is the part about spirituality that almost no one understands. The heavens do not respond to what you ask for with your mouth, but to what you sustain with your energy. You can say, "I am ready for something bigger." But if you continue to accept small situations, the universe understands that you are still comfortable in limitation. You can affirm, "I trust my purpose," but if you live by justifying yourself or asking for permission to exist, your vibration says the opposite. The scales of Libra are sensitive. They don't measure words, they measure coherence. That is why today is a day of decision. Do you want to be a participant or a victim of the adjustment? Tomorrow the heavens will ask, "What do you want to manifest?" But first, today it asks, "What are you willing to leave behind?" Because every true beginning requires an exchange. Life does not grant power to occupied hands. It does not grant abundance if your energy is still leaking in the wrong places. It does not grant new relationships if you remain loyal to old stories. It does not grant a voice if you still silence yourself for fear of making others uncomfortable. The scales of Libra are neutral, but they are not blind. They weigh with precision. And there is a spiritual truth that almost no one has the courage to face. Many blockages are not spiritual or karmic. They are choices you continue to sustain for the sake of convenience. It's easier to say, "The universe doesn't want it for me," than to admit, "I am still attached to something that is already over." Sometimes, the greatest liberation happens not when the heavens open a door, but when you close one that should have been locked long ago. The spiritual preparation for this new moon does not require perfection. It requires responsibility. Libra is the sign of contracts, and contracts are agreements of reciprocity. So the central question is, what in your life is an unfair agreement? Where do you give more than you receive? Where do you diminish yourself to maintain superficial peace? Where do you continue to sustain dynamics that do not respect your soul? Today is the day to realize where your yes has become a prison. And here is the crucial point. Divine justice is not about punishment, it is about legitimacy. When you position yourself truthfully, the universe legitimizes it. When you accept less than you deserve, the universe cannot interfere because you have signed that contract with your behavior. Tomorrow, the energy will be distributed precisely, and whoever is in a posture of truth will receive more than they expected. Whoever insists on incoherence will feel the weight of their own choice. So today, before the altar opens, the heavens watch you and ask, are you carrying what strengthens your essence, or what drains your soul? Are you keeping what honors who you have become, or what keeps alive who you were? Are you asking for justice, but continue to tolerate the unjust? Because tomorrow, the new moon in Libra will seal it. Today, it merely reveals what is on the scales. There is a spiritual law that almost no one likes to face, but it continues to operate in silence with absolute precision. Everything that is unjust, sooner or later, will be corrected. Not out of revenge, but for the sake of balance. Not because the universe punishes, but because the entire creation was built on a single foundation, coherence, and everything that moves away from that base begins to crumble, even if it looks stable on the outside. Libra represents this invisible intelligence that keeps the cosmos in order. Divine justice is not human. It does not follow the logic of the ego, nor the haste of the mind. It does not like drama, it likes balance. And balance is not being at peace. It is putting everything in its proper place, even if that generates temporary discomfort. Libra is the moment when the universe redistributes weights. What was too light receives responsibility. What was too heavy receives relief. What was unequal is leveled. And that is exactly what this new moon will activate tomorrow, the adjustment of destiny. Many people think that destiny is something that happens to you, but in reality, destiny is a consequence of energetic exchanges, choices, agreements, and postures. Destiny is not a surprise. It is a response. And the new moon in Libra is like a spiritual tribunal where the scales analyze with coldness and wisdom. What is this soul truly ready to receive? Not what it desires, what it sustains. This is the most serious part. The universe does not grant power, love, abundance, or influence to those who still behave like someone who accepts crumbs, not for punishment, but for protection. If you receive something big with a weak structure, you break. And that is why, before elevating you, life tests your integrity. Tomorrow, this new moon will not ask, "What do you want?" It will ask, "What are you willing to maintain with dignity?" Because Libra is not about asking, it is about deserving. Not in a moral sense, but in an energetic sense. Spiritual deservingness, coherence, plus responsibility, plus awareness of worth. And here is a point that few people realize. Often, you're already ready for a greater life, but you are still tied to small concessions that drain your strength. You want freedom, but you still negotiate your voice. You want growth, but you still surround yourself with people who think small. You want abundance, but you still invest energy in places that give nothing back. You want destiny, but you still live by explaining, asking for approval, waiting for an external sign. Libra looks at this and says, calmly but firmly, justice is cutting away everything that weakens your purpose. This is the spiritual part ignored by most. People want blessings, but they continue to maintain agreements that contradict their own soul. They want new results, but they maintain old behaviors. They want a harvest, but they don't plant boundaries. They want to be honored, but they still betray themselves. And that is why this new moon is so important. It separates what is true from what is convenient. It exposes where you are being unjust to yourself. It shows where you are carrying weight that does not belong to you. And it calls back your spiritual authority, because divine justice is not just about what others do to you. It is about what you allow them to do. It is about how you treat yourself. It is about how much truth you can bear to live. And here is the key. When you honor internal justice, the universe honors you publicly. When you position yourself with dignity, doors open. When you refuse to accept the unjust, life brings the just. When you recognize your own worth, destiny reorganizes the path to reflect that. The new moon in Libra will not ask, "Are you afraid?" It will ask, "Are you willing to live in accordance with who you really are?" Because tomorrow, the scales descend, and what is aligned with your truth will be elevated. What is based on a false agreement will be extinguished. That is divine justice, and no one manipulates that law. Every new moon begins a cycle, but not every new moon will seal a destiny contract like this one. Because Libra is not an emotional sign, it is a sign of agreement. Libra governs contracts, partnerships, visible and invisible pacts, and when the new moon happens in this sign, the universe doesn't just open doors, it redefines terms. This means that tomorrow, whether you are conscious of it or not, you will be signing a kind of energetic contract with life. And this contract will determine what will be permitted, what will be cut, and what will be empowered in the coming months. Want to see how this works in practice? If you enter the new cycle respecting yourself, life respects you. If you enter choosing yourself, the right people start to choose you too. If you enter demanding reciprocity, the universe removes everything that gave less than it received. If you enter aware of your worth, doors that were previously closed open naturally. The spiritual contract is not mystical, it is direct. It is the sum of your choices, plus boundaries, plus posture. And here is the most serious part. If you do not consciously decide on this contract, the universe decides for you. And when life decides for you, it often takes things away without warning. Not because it wants to punish you, but because it can no longer sustain agreements that you yourself do not have the courage to break. You've felt this before. That friendship that ended out of nowhere. That job that simply collapsed. That pattern that unraveled without explanation. It wasn't chaos, it was justice. Life ended for you what you didn't have the strength to end on your own. But tomorrow is different. This time, you can choose before life intervenes. This is the beauty and the gravity of this new moon. It is a rare chance to renegotiate everything. Your time, your energy, your exchanges, your alliances, your priorities, your spiritual goals. And pay attention. A spiritual contract is not about asking the universe for things. It is about declaring the version of you that will rise from now on. Because the universe does not sustain empty wishes. It sustains identities. You don't get what you want. You get who you decide to be. That is why the most powerful moment is not tomorrow when the new moon arrives. It is today when you look within and answer with seriousness, who do I refuse to be again? What pattern will I no longer tolerate? How does someone at my next level behave? And when do I start? That answer is the contract. And here is the truth that hurts but liberates. It is not the universe that chooses for you. It is you who takes a stand or stays silent. It is you who signs or postpones. It is you who renews the old cycle or inaugurates a completely new one. The new moon in Libra is not coming to please you. It is coming to hold you accountable and at the same time to legitimize you. Whoever arrives with truth leaves with authority. Whoever arrives with fear remains reactive. Whoever arrives whole receives expansion. Whoever arrives fragmented receives more mirrors. Tomorrow the scales rise. Tomorrow the contract is sealed. And the universe will ask with precision, are you ready to live in agreement with your own soul? Today you answer with posture. Tomorrow, the heavens answer with destiny. Before the new cycle begins, it always sends signs. The problem is that most people expect pretty signs, magical coincidences, feelings of lightness, romantic inspirations. But the universe rarely acts this way. When a cycle is about to be born, the first signs are uncomfortable because they don't just signal that something new is coming, they signal that something old is dying. If in the last few days you have felt restless, disconnected from things that used to make sense, impatient with situations you used to tolerate, this is not instability. It is preparation. It is as if life begins to energetically push everything that is misaligned to the surface for you to clearly see what you cannot take forward. Another very common sign is the feeling of, I don't belong here anymore. It could be in an environment, in a dynamic, in an identity. You don't yet know where you're going, but you know you can no longer stay where you are. This is the soul moving before the mind understands. The new cycle is already calling you, even if it hasn't manifested yet. There is also the silent sign of selective exhaustion. It's not generalized fatigue. It's tiredness with specific things, repetitive conversations, people who are always demanding, tasks that are draining. The body begins to reject what no longer has a purpose. The energy simply doesn't flow. This is the universe saying, you are spending strength where there is no return. There is yet another powerful sign. Moments of extreme lucidity or internal sincerity. You might be in an ordinary situation and suddenly find yourself thinking, I don't want this anymore. This sentence may seem simple, but it is a decree. When this sentence appears spontaneously, it is the soul delivering the verdict before the scales. This does not come from the mind. It comes from the spirit. And when the spirit speaks, life listens. Some people also report intense dreams, recurring themes, reunions with key people from the past, or events that seem like coincidence. All of this is energetic reorganization. It's as if old pieces are moving to free up space for new pieces to arrive. Even delays, cancellations, and unforeseen events can be signs of spiritual protection. The universe removing you from places that no longer match the next cycle. And perhaps the most evident sign of all is this. You feel that you are on the verge of something, but you don't yet know what it is. This feeling of being on a threshold is not imagination. It is real. The spirit senses portals before the mind understands them. The spiritual body is already in motion, even if external life still seems the same. These signs are not trying to scare you, they are trying to prepare you. They are saying, observe, something is going to change, and you will be called to respond. The new does not arrive by surprise. It calls, it pressures, it provokes specific discomforts, all so that when the new moon descends tomorrow with the force of a decree, you will not be spiritually asleep. If you are feeling any of these things, this is not weakness, it is confirmation. It means that the next cycle will not just touch your life, it will reposition you. And feeling all this is the proof that the heavens have already marked you. Because before the cosmic signature, the universe always whispers the names of those who will be lifted up. Tomorrow, when the new moon in Libra reaches the exact point of conjunction, it will not just mark the beginning of a new astrological cycle, it will represent the instant when the heavens observe who is truly present. There is no way to mask your vibration. The universe does not read vague intentions or future plans. It reads presence, posture, and spiritual courage. Today is the antechamber of the altar. It is the moment when you decide whether you will enter the new cycle as a spectator or as an active part of creation. And that is what Libra symbolizes in its highest sense. The soul that stands before the scales and says, I accept seeing what is just. Not what is just according to the ego, but what is just according to the soul. Tomorrow, the energy of this new moon will reorganize what is not in coherence, even if it causes temporary disruptions. Nothing based on manipulation, fear, or appearance will withstand it. The universe does not negotiate with falsehood. It exposes, balances, and recomposes. Therefore, today, more than protecting yourself, you need to present yourself. Present your truth, your willingness, your energetic signature. When the contract of the new cycle is sealed, It will not be collective. It will be individual. Each soul will stand before its own mirror, being invited to choose between two postures, continuing to sustain old stories or assuming one's own role in the destiny that is already ready to be lived. Today's spiritual preparation is simple, yet profound. Observe, acknowledge, and affirm. Observe what is asking for closure. Acknowledge what still ties you to old roles. And affirm internally that you are willing to let the new manifest without trying to control it. This is true surrender. Not passive, but conscious. It is not about waiting for the universe to solve things. It is about aligning with what it has already decided to create through you. You do not need a ritual, a stone, or an elaborate prayer. The sacred lies in the silent decision to no longer hide from your own power. The moment to present yourself to the heavens is not a metaphor. It is a spiritual reality. Tomorrow, when the moon completely disappears from the visible sky, that is where everything restarts in the invisible. The lunar void is the womb of the cosmos, and whoever enters it with consciousness emerges transformed. But there is a detail. The void does not forgive indecision. If you enter without clarity of who you are, the universe will not know what to expand. That is why today is the day to define with maturity, who am I now and what do I represent to the world that begins tomorrow? Because that is what the heavens will amplify. The universe does not respond to doubts. It responds to definitions. Libra is the guardian of just pacts. Tomorrow it renews agreements, closes old portals, and opens new destiny contracts. For those who are awake, it will be a leap of power and legitimacy. For those who are distracted, it will be another repetition of old patterns with new names. The difference between the two paths is not in the astrological chart. It is in the consciousness with which each one chooses to cross this moment. Therefore, this night is spiritual in the most sacred sense. It is the vigil of the soul. The preparation is not about waiting for a miracle. It is about being ready to receive it. It is the instant when the spirit recomposes itself. The heart straightens, and the word ready ceases to be a wish and becomes presence. When the new cycle is born tomorrow, the universe will ask, in symbolic but relentless language, who has presented themselves, and the answer will not be verbal. It will be vibrational. Those who arrive conscious will be recognized. Those who arrive ready will be chosen. Those who arrive true will be elevated. Tomorrow, the new moon descends as a seal, as a decree, as a verdict. And when that happens, every choice made today will become a fixed point in the fabric of time. What you decide to keep will continue. What you choose to let go of will not return. What you assume with conviction will flourish. The altar is being prepared. The judgment is not a threat, it is confirmation. The new cycle is not a promise, it is a summons. And when the moon disappears completely tomorrow, the heavens will just whisper one question to each awakened soul. Are you ready? Tomorrow, when the moon completely disappears from the sky, it will not just be the beginning of a new lunar cycle. It will be the moment when the universe asks the most serious question of all. Are you willing to live in accordance with who you really are? This new moon in Libra does not bring superficial lightness. It brings spiritual precision. It examines, reorganizes, legitimizes, or removes. And the most powerful thing to understand is that the heavens will not decide for you. They will simply seal what you have chosen to sustain. If you enter this new cycle with fear, you will receive experiences that reinforce fear. If you enter with truth, life will begin to respond with doors you have never seen before. If you enter with a posture of worth, everything around you will be recalibrated to reflect that worth. That is why today was the most important day, the day to present yourself, to position yourself, to internally assume your next spiritual identity. Tomorrow, the universe will not analyze your past. It will analyze your present posture. And here is the truth that separates those who just watch from those who truly evolve. Life doesn't change when the new moon arrives. Life changes when you arrive differently before the new moon. Tomorrow, the sacred scales descend, not to punish, but to balance, not to take away, but to protect what is true, not to test, but to confirm who is ready to carry more light, more responsibility, more purpose. And the heavens always favor those who arrive with consciousness, courage, and spiritual dignity. Today, the call is not to understand every detail. It is to say with conviction, I know something bigger is coming, and I choose to be ready to receive. If this message resonated with your soul, declare with firmness, I am ready. Because that sentence is not just a comment, it is a spiritual signature, and tomorrow the universe will respond.